Right then, just wanted to go through a few things before we carry on. Now unfortunately I started assembling this engine before filming commenced, so obviously I put in the gear internals, the selector forks, etc., the selector drum. These two seals are in. The neutral switch was in already, and obviously I've assembled the crankcases. We've got the crank seal in, and we've got the final drive where the final drive sprocket goes in, that seal's in, and the little push rod seal for the clutch push rods in. Obviously this was already put in, so unfortunately you missed out on a rather boring assembly of the gearbox. I mean, I know it's useful for some people who've never done it before, but you know, providing you've got the manual, which is available online, you know, you can go through it. I would recommend photographing stuff if you're taking it apart, so if you sort of have a panic attack and forget what you're doing, you can always refer back to your photos of how it was. So that's what I always do anyway. So we're going to get rid of some of this universal blue Hylamar. It comes off lovely, you know. If this was silicon or yam bond, I'd probably be using a huge breaker or something to get it off. I mean, you can still see this old grey stuff, the old original bond, which has been on there 40 years. I mean, it's absolutely impossible to get off. That's even after vapor blasting. So, but this Hylamar blue comes off lovely. I mean, you don't really need to worry about this side because there's no oil journals or anything to get, you know, clogged up. This is all dry, as it were, just exposed to the alternator and fresh air really, so it doesn't really matter, but you know, it makes it look a little bit more the part. Just getting the blue stuff off. Like I say, it never hardens, this stuff, it just sort of stays sort of squidgy, apparently even after about 50 years or something. So in theory, you know, you could take the thing apart and it'd just be just as easy to do. So we've just got a little bit round here to take off, and a little bit at the further back. There we go. Like I say, it's not really that critical. I mean, this bit just gets absolutely caked in road dirt anyway, so a bit of blue Hylamar's not going to do it any harm. So, right, change mechanism in. I have in fact tested the gear's work as well, literally by getting the gear stick, the gear lever, and putting it on the end of that shaft the other side and clunking it down, going into first gear, clunking it up second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. They all work. The last time I actually rode this bike, I think it was back in 1984, the gearbox was fine. There was no sort of rusty bits or anything. It all cleaned up lovely. So I've got no reason to think that the gearbox isn't going to work. I'm confident in that. Anyway, since the part one, I've got the clutch retaining bracket in and this oil splash diverter plate. As you can see, I've had to put in a different screw. This is an Allen screw, a stainless Allen screw, because I managed to mess the head up taking it out of that one, and I think I might have explained, but I'll go over it again. You've got to have, when you're working on these old bikes, these old Japanese bikes, you've got to get yourself a set of JIS screwdrivers, because all these screws, they're all JIS, which is Japanese Industrial Standard, and the head is slightly different to a Phillips and a Posi drive. It's not the same. You can normally tell there's a little dot on the head of the screw, which you probably can't see that, but anyway, believe you me, they're all JIS, and if you haven't got the correct screwdriver, you can get yourself to all sorts of trouble rounding off the screw heads. So that's what I would suggest. I simply got a set of these online for a few quid, a set of JIS screwdrivers. This is a T-bar JIS set from Laser, again cheap and cheerful. You know, they just cost you a few quid, but they're ever so useful. I also got a set of JIS bits for the impact driver, which I think I used actually on the clutch plate retaining washer, because they were a bit tight. So it's definitely something you've got to have. I would highly recommend it. And as I pointed out, even with the correct screwdriver sets, I even managed to mess the head up on this one. So this one's been replaced. It's a stainless steel A2 stainless Allen screw, so that'll do the job. I've put in a bit of thread lock on as well, because I'm a bit paranoid about the screws coming undone in the middle of a fast run, and the screw rattling around and causing all sorts of damage and destroying everything in sight. So these are all done up with a little bit of thread lock as well. Right, I think next what we'll do is we'll put the little O-ring in here for the crankshaft, which I'll go and get. So start with putting a little bit of assembly oil on the crankshaft. You can never have too much of this stuff. It's really good for obviously lubing everything up. There's the O-ring. Trying to do this one-handed is a bit of a mission, but anyway, let's see what we can do. There it is, it's in position. I think that just seals the oil from getting in, or indeed maybe air getting out, I don't know, but anyway it's got to be put in. So there it is, mustn't be forgotten. So we're now going to slip the primary drive pinion on. So I've just got it on the end of the crankshaft now, and all I've got to do is gently but firmly push it home. There you go, it just popped on. I don't know if you saw that. Nice and easy, no great stress. But we've now got to get the little pin in. How about that? All one-handed. That just goes to prove how easy it is to do. So we've got that in. Just a little bit of information as well. This is a 250 engine, so in theory it should have 21 teeth for the primary drive, and if you notice it's got 22 written on there. Now I've sort of done a bit of investigation, and I believe some of the RDs for different markets had different teeth, or different amount of teeth on the primary drive. I don't understand why this has got a 22 teeth primary drive pinion, but it has. So at the moment, like I say, it's got 250 gearing. Well, the gearbox is actually the same as the 350. The internal bits inside, they're all the same. But what differs is the primary drive. On a 350, it has 23 teeth, and obviously a correspondingly smaller ring of teeth on the clutch basket. And obviously that's what makes the difference between the gears, the gear ratios. This is a 22 teeth, so it's only one tooth less than a standard 350. So I don't think we're going to have much of an issue with gear ratios. When I did this way back in 1979, this conversion on my old RD250 that I had, and made it a 350, and I kept the 250 gearing, and what I found was, and it worked fine, I found that the 350 engine, when it was fitted, was actually slower top speed than the 250. The 250, wanted to rev on a bit more. And I found the 250 actually went a little bit faster top end than the 350 with that gearing. The 350 would get there ever so quickly, very fast on acceleration. It would pull wheelies, etc. Like that's probably what you'd expect, having that gearing. But yeah, so we're going to overcome this we're going to be putting a smaller back sprocket on, which should overcome it. But I can't remember how many teeth my the original bike that I did in '79 had, whether it was a 22 teeth or 21 teeth. If it was 21 teeth, obviously it would be different to this one. So this is a lot closer to the 350. I mean, I don't know exactly what the ratio difference would be, but it's obviously different. And like I say, I've done some investigation, and apparently for different markets they did alter the gear ratio, or the primary drive pinion, from 21 teeth in some markets to 22. So maybe this is a foreign engine, or maybe not. Anyway, let's carry on. When you refit the nut, you've got a washer, which is a domed washer. I don't know if you can make that out. And what you've got to do is put the washer on. See, my hand is like a dome. Put the dome on that way, not that way. So you want the, if you like, the top bit of the dome facing you, and the bottom bit, or the wider bit, the lower bit, on the actual pinion. And this is like a spring washer, acts like a spring washer. There is a technical term actually for what they're called, but I can't remember what it is. I'm showing my complete lack of knowledge there. I think I'll put a bit more lube on. You can never get too much of lube. There we go. And make sure that that's a bit clean. There we go. And here we go. Slot the nut on. How about that? Brilliant. So that's that bit on. We're going to tighten it up in a minute. I think we're going to tighten it up now. I think before we're going to tighten that up, I'm going to get the other two pieces in. I'm going to get the kickstart in, and this little idler gear wheel, which serves the kickstart and the tacho drive. We're going to get the kickstart mechanism on, and the little idler gear for the tacho and the kickstart. We're going to get that fitted. Right, firstly, make sure that you've got the washer that goes on the end of this in position, and push the shaft in, making sure that you've got the end of that spring in the notch, and then you must wind it round over that notch. You've got to be careful. I just checked that the spring is under a bit of tension. Otherwise, obviously, your kickstart isn't going to return properly. So I can feel that that's under tension, and I've got it in position. So there you go. That's the kickstart mechanism in. Again, make sure you put your washer in for the idler gear. Then the idler gear itself. Oh, that little plate allows the idler gear to go in position. Obviously now it clears it. Okay, then we have another washer, and now the circlip. Now I'm not going to attempt to put the circlip in with one hand. I'm going to use my little circlip pliers, and we'll get that circlip on. Right, there's the circlip back on in position. Kickstart in, and all good. We're not going to put the clutch basket on just yet, because I've noticed that we've got, I don't know if you can see these ridges. Believe you me, they're quite substantial. Now I don't doubt that this clutch would work as it is, but you can see they're badly scored. So rather than getting a new clutch, which isn't available, you can get a new clutch basket, but you have to, it's a kit, you have to drill out the 4 rivets and separate the basket from the actual bottom plate of the clutch, and then you have a little screw kit which then screws them together with some cush drive rubbers and a gasket and a ring So if I get that complete kit, which I've got, we should be able to make this clutch good as new, which I think is worth it, because it's very old. It's got to be 40 something years old, this engine, so I think it deserves a new clutch. There's a little follow on. I have come into the possession of a RD350 clutch with a 23 tooth primary drive gear, but because I've decided that I'm going to go with the 22 teeth primary drive and clutch, which I've already got, with an upgrade on the basket, I'm not going to use this. I'm going to put this to one side and keep it, and maybe use it in the future, because I can always upgrade this clutch basket. This has got a similar problem, probably not quite as bad as mine, or they're both mine now, my original, but probably could do with upgrading. But anyway, I've got the full kit, and it seems in reasonably good condition, so we'll put that to one side and we'll carry on with this clutch upgrade. Incidentally, I held up the 23 tooth. You can't really see from the camera angle, but the pinion is ever so slightly bigger diameter. Obviously that makes sense, because this has got 23 teeth, and the reason I know that is because I've counted them, and also because there's a 3 written on this gear somewhere. There it is, near my thumb there, look, number 3. So this indicates it's a 33 tooth pinion. Anyway, we'll put that to one side. Right, you see the original clutch basket, and I have pre-drilled these rivets out. I did struggle a little bit with broken drill bits, but I would suggest, if anyone's doing this, drill in from this side, centre punch a good central hole in the rivet, and then start with a small drill, about 2mm, and then work your way up. I think it's about a 5.5mm hole. Anyway, once you've drilled the rivets out, you can probably knock them out. They're quite long, they go all the way through the body. You can take the plate out. I've marked this up out, as in the outside. You can then see there's the gear drive there. You've got your cush drive rubbers. Incidentally, one of them is cracked, but that can be taken apart. So there's the main gear off, and there's the old clutch basket with the old cush drive rubbers, which I'm picking up one by one, and I think there is one that's damaged somewhere. Oh look, there's the damaged bit. So yeah, so they're all good except for one, which is amazing really, because it's 40 years old, and they just look like they're just made of rubber of some kind, so they've done pretty well. So I'll leave that lot over there. That's the old basket and the old cush drive rubbers, and we'll now, here's the new clutch basket, and this is some kind of thing that's been made out of a solid billet of aluminium, aero grade or something. I don't know what they said, but it's supposed to be the bee's knees. It's got these little windows in the side, so I do hope it's as strong as the original item. But anyway, it all looks very well made. That's the clutch basket. So we also have a set of cush drive rubbers, like a big giant O-ring seal, a screw kit, an Allen key, and a gasket. So we're now going to assemble it. So for those that have seen this advertised perhaps on Yambit's website and wondered how it was done, you're soon going to learn. So join the club, because I've never done it, so this is the first time for me. We'll have a look and see how easy or difficult it is. I'm sure it'll be fine. Right, the first thing we're going to do is put the rubber O-ringing. I can't do this with one hand, so you'll have to bear with me. I'll get a bit of the old assembly lube on there and lube it all up so that it's not going to cause problems with anything being really over tight. Well, that's the O-ring on. I did find that I had to, push down quite hard, and you got to stretch it out, its diameter out, and it does have a tendency to jump back in. So you've got to make sure all of the ring is in and push it all home and give it a nice seal. Okay, I've taken an educated guess and I've put the gasket on the bottom. It seems like it's the same both sides. So it doesn't have a way round, different way round. So that's where I'm going with, because I can't see that the cush drive rubbers would sit on the bottom and then you then put this on top. I don't think that makes sense. So we'll go with the bottom. Incidentally, in the instructions, it's not very good, the instructions, but it does say note where the gasket position was on the old unit. Well, of course there was no gasket on the old unit. I don't think they came with it, so we haven't got a position to go from, a template. So we'll go with that and see what happens. We can always unscrew it, I suppose. At the end of the day, not the end of the world. Now I've put plenty of assembly lube around here and around here, because this thing is a very tight fit. I just did a little test fit and it is very tight, so I didn't push it all the way. I thought, well, I'll take it back out and I'll lube it up, and then we'll put it down and then put the cush drive rubbers in, and then we should be good to go for putting the screw set in. Okay, yeah, a bit of a tight fit, but it went. So, and it's moving around nice and easy. So we'll centralise those holes and we'll get the cush drive set in and go with that. Right, looking at these rubbers, there is a distinct difference. This side is more rounded and that side is more flat, cut almost like a right angle. So I'm gonna make an educated guess. I'm gonna put the rounded ends at the bottom, because to my mind, when you're slipping it in, if there's going to be any resistance, which there will be when you're putting the last few in, you'll want the rounded end to help you get it in the hole rather than having the sharp flat end. So that's what we're going to do. There's the first one gone in. I'm putting a bit of lube on there as well, just to help it on its way. Right, I've had to put this in a pot of boiling water. The rest of the cush drive rubbers in a nice pot of boiling water. Oh, it was boiling a minute ago. I've got the first two in. It does certainly help with them heated up. When they're stone cold, they are absolutely tough as anything, and they will not give. Try as I might, I just couldn't get them in the hole. But now, when they were softened up, they went in pretty easy. Put a bit of lube round to help them on their way as well, and hopefully we'll get the rest in. Okay, that's all of them in. Now there is a bit of residual moisture obviously from the water pot, so I'm going to actually deluge this in a bit of WD-40 to try and displace all the water in there, and then it's a nice sunny day today, and I'm going to put it outside. I'm going to let all that water evaporate, hopefully, before we put the plate on, and that's the job done then. So get the WD-40 out and give it a good sprayer. Okay, so that's the final unit. It's sort of a little bit of a dry out in the sun. I put a nice lot of WD-40 on there. There's no fluid. I mean, there wasn't any major amounts. I mean, I dried them off as best I could as I took them out of the pot of boiling water, and then obviously put them in. You can see how distorted some of them are, so you can see how much they needed to be squeezed, but there's no play in that at all, so that all looks good. So let's get the cover plate on and put the screw set in. It doesn't mention it, but I'm going to use some thread lock, because looking at the kit, they look like they're just sort of standard, I suppose they're high tensile Allen screws, I'm sure they're up to the job, but yeah, I wouldn't want them coming out or anything. There you go. That's all they are. Just an Allen screw. Not even stainless or anything. Perhaps I should use my stainless ones because they look like they're the same size. Anyway, I'll get them in position. I'll probably spray a bit of oil on this face here to keep things nice and lubed up. So yeah. Right. Let's get it lined up with a screw hole. See what happens. Do a little test fit first. Make sure the holes are big enough, etc. before I go wild. As usual, I'm struggling to do this with one hand. Maybe those screws are actually slightly bigger than the holes in the plate. Yeah, as I suspected, the hole in the original plate is slightly smaller than the diameter of the screw. So what we're going to have to do is open up the holes ever so slightly. You know, I'll actually physically measure it with the old vernier calipers, and we'll see what the diameter of those is, and then we'll try and get the closest drill I've got to just open the hole up slightly. Now, as you can see, we're about just under 6mm for those screws, so we'll open up the holes ever so slightly. Okay, I had to open these holes up to 6mm in the end, and this stuff is hardened. This plate is hardened, so although I had brand new drill bits, it was a struggle getting through, and it even burred up a little bit on the holes. So I've then had to get my flapper wheel and just smooth it all off both sides, but it's okay. And this plate, actually, it doesn't take, you thought, oh, it takes the full force of the engine. It doesn't. The rubber bits do. This just sort of holds it all in position, so it's not as if it's a major problem. So let's get the screws in with a bit of Loctite, and yeah, we'll get the clutch on. Right, that's the screws tightened. Yeah, get rid of a bit of the excess of that Loctite off. That is it. New clutch. Beautiful. So you see the ring in, so you know it's pretty much like the original. So there you go, a lesson in how to assemble the clutch kit from Yambits. So there we go. I've gone round and tightened them with my Weira German Allen key. It's slightly more impressive than the original item that is supplied with a kit. So, you know, I expect when they assembled this kit, they probably said to themselves, what's the cheapest Allen key we can supply with this kit? And that was it. So I've used this, and I've eked it up a bit more. You know, I haven't gone crazy because, you know, at some point somebody might want to undo this. So it is Loctited in, and so I would say that's good to go. Okay, so I've lubed up the shaft with assembly lube, put a bit round here as well. So we're going to get this clutch on now, and there we go. Brand new clutch, effectively, because I've got some brand new plates. Yeah, with a 22 teeth, so still with the 250 gearing, although as I discussed earlier, it's 250 slightly different though, because normal 250's only got 21 teeth, and the 350 gearing has got 23 teeth, but I've got 22, so we're sort of a halfway house. So okay, don't forget to put the washer on before we put this central part of the clutch in. There we go, and that's in. So again, we get the washer. Notice there's a little divot here where the little tongue sits for the washer. I know actually on the Yamaha spares on my manual, it doesn't mention this type of washer. It books it down as a spring washer like this, a domed washer. But anyway, this had a spring washer as standard. It's got the little divot for it, so it's obviously meant to have it. So we'll keep the original, and we'll get the old nut on and proceed with tightening the clutch up. So first, now we've got the clutch in position, we're gonna, if you remember, we haven't tightened this nut up. This is a 24mm socket, and I'm going to tighten it to 56 foot-pounds, because in the manual I think it says between 38 and 58 foot-pounds. Anyway, between that figure will be sufficient. So it just so happens that on my torque wrench I've got a notch on 56 foot-pounds, so we'll go with the higher end of what's necessary. And this is the same as well. This is 38 to 58 foot-pound, so we'll do this at 56 as well. So we'll proceed with that. Right, so you stick a bit of rag in between these teeth, that's all it requires, and then just tighten her up. And I'm going to try and do this with one hand, but it's probably not going to work. There you go, the engine's starting to tip over. So I'm going to do the rest of the torque off camera, and then we'll yeah, not going to miss much. It's just going to go click when it's got the right torque, but I can get one hand on here and one hand on here and torque her up. That's it. So that's torqued up to 56, and we just take the rag out. We're going to use a different method for holding, because what we have to do, we have to hold this all still while we tighten it up. Okay, now there is a special Yamaha tool apparently, but I haven't got one, so I've sort of made my own up. But I'm going to be a bit careful, more careful than normal, he says, because obviously this is a brand new basket and I don't want to damage it or mark it in any way, so I'll probably take a bit more care. So when I'm set up, I'll come back. I've put on 4 clutch plates, 2 fibre plates on the outside and 2 steel plates on the inside. Okay, so now that's locked the well, it will have locked the centre in to the side. Right, I've now applied 2 pairs of mole grips to grip the plates together, and I've supported the bottom mole grip with a socket. So now what that enables us to tighten this nut up without damaging anything. For this we're going to use a 30mm socket, obviously torque wrench as before, 56 foot-pounds, and we're going to tighten her up. The washer done up. Possibly could get a new washer one of these days, but you know, that's still got a little bit of life in it. So there we go, clutch tightened up. So just ready for the clutch plates now. Right, little bit of an update since my last little bit of filming. I have changed my mind. I decided that this washer, you know, although it fitted in with a little divot there, that it had probably seen better days, and you know, being as I wasn't in a hurry, because I'm actually still waiting for the crankcases to come back from the powder coaters, so it's not like I was in a desperate hurry to get it all finished. So I decided to order the only thing available listed for this clutch, which is another dome washer like this one here. So anyway, it's been put in and re-torqued up, so it does look a lot better than the other one. I think a bit more professional as well. So yeah, so there you go, that's a little bit of an update. Everything else is just the same. I think what we're going to probably do now, being as I'm still waiting for the crankcases, I'm not going to put the clutch plates on just yet. I've got to soak them in oil, and I think I'd rather do that. They recommend you soak them overnight, so I think I'd sort of soak them overnight, and then when I've got the crankcases back, slip them on, button that up, and then put the side crankcases on. But I think what we'll do is concentrate on the alternator side now, so that which is the other side of the engine. So let's carry on. Right, so this is the alternator side again. Everything as per what you see, nothing has changed. What I've got is a set of brushes for the alternator. I'll probably clean this up a little bit, but this is the original, literally the alternator, how it came out of the of the bike, and you can see the brushes have seen better days. I've got a set of brushes, and I'll give this a good clean up. And also, I got a set of this contactless ignition set, which we'll be putting on. I believe, I mean in my day, I believe there was a kit made by Piranha. I think it was Piranha, and I've got a feeling that it was either identical to that one that I just showed you, or very similar. Anyway, I don't think Piranha's available now, so that is the only upgrade, because this is the Hitachi generator. It has the centre coils, which are here. The brushes run along little tracks on there, little rings, copper rings, and yeah, the newer bikes had a slightly different end to the crank, and they had a different seal, and I think they had a permanent magnet, and a thing that's cover that went round and round. Obviously they had electronic ignition, but this is the old Hitachi generator, so, or alternator I should say. So that's what we're going to be cleaning up and putting in. Right, that's cleaned up even more. I think that's enough now, so if we now concentrate on getting the alternator nice and clean, and then put the new brushes in, bring that up to a reconditioned standard. Right, I'll leave that there for a second. Right, let's have a little go with the airline. It's slightly cleaner. We'll get the brushes out now and replace them with the new items. So I think we're going to have to get a screwdriver on this. Right, as I mentioned before, probably you've heard it a few times now, these are JIS screws, so I'm using my JIS screwdriver to get them undone. There we go. Now if I was struggling with a Phillips or a posi drive, they would not come out very easily. With the right screwdriver you've got no problem at all. Right, this second screw has a little carrier bracket for the points. There, look. We've got some little insulators that sit on top. Oh, there we go. Underneath even. There we go. Yeah, they sit on top of the green. So remember the green. One green here and one green there. And there are the brushes. The new brushes don't come with the little connectors, so we're probably going to have to actually solder them on. They don't tell you that in the Yambits website, do they? But anyway, it's not too much of a problem. So let's just pull them out. There we go. There, the old one's out. Now I'll clear the decks. What I'll do is I'll put these back how they were. One, so I remember, and two, so they don't get lost, because it can be quite easy to get stuff lost, little screws and washers and stuff like that. So by doing this, we don't have that problem. So everything is pretty much as it was. Right, let's sort out these brushes and see what we can do. Okay, this might be a bit of overkill, but what I'm doing is just measuring the rough length. The spring is under slight tension, but when I put it back, if I make sure that it is roughly from the top of the brush to the top of the little bracket, that's the distance. So I'll leave those, a bit of overkill, but we'll perhaps, I haven't got, it looks like it's been like spot welded, but I haven't got a spot welder, so this will have to be soldered. Let's just see, probably just have to cut the wire. It's been there for 50 years or 45 years or whatever. There we go. So there's this one spring. Looks like there's a little insulator they put on the old brush there. So, and then I'll do the same on the other one. Cut the wire. There we go. Number 2. Well, they're the old brushes. I'll pull the old sleeving off as well. As you can see, they're the old ones. And there are the new ones for comparison. So the new ones are quite a lot longer than the old ones. So there we go. Right, so I'll put the sleeving on the new brush tails. It'll probably be slightly shorter than it was, but I don't think it's going to be a major issue really. If I put the spring over the top and the spring over the top of the other one, and that will go through the hole. And I'll probably have to grip that in the vise off camera maybe to solder that up. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. It's a bit tricky. I'll just put that down for a second. Okay, we're just going to tin this base up. I've got a gas iron here, a gas cat 120, so it should be equivalent to 120 watt soldering iron, because this bit of metal is quite substantial. I've got a feeling, you know, I'm going to have to clean this up a bit before the solder's going to take. I mean, it is taking now, but there you go. Might give that a bit of a clean up. Right, so there's the 2 new brushes soldered on. I mean, it's not a brilliant job, but it's, I mean, the solder's good enough. It's fine. So we'll get those back in. Right then, let's get the brushes back in. Screw connectors. So they're actually, they look the same, but they're different. If you look, this one is quite short and stubby, whereas this one sort of does an L over. So yeah, they're definitely different. I don't think that's a major problem. Someone probably noticed that and work out how they fit in together. And the second screw in, if I don't drop the screwdriver first. There you go. Like I say, I've seen better soldering, but no, it's solid enough. It's not going anywhere. I mean, the only thing that could happen is the alternator gets so hot that the solder melts, but I don't think that it gets that hot. Not really. And you can see now that these new brushes stick out much more than the old ones. Now they're okay. So I'll give that another blowing on the airline, clean all this lot up, and then I think that'd be good to go.